Hi students, this is your science miss. In this session, we are going to discuss Unit 19, Plant Physiology. Animals move in search of food, shelter and for reproduction. Here in this lesson, we are going to study about various movements in plants, photosynthesis and transpiration. First movement, tropism. Tropism is a unidirectional movement of a whole or part of a plant towards the direction of the stimuli. Types of tropism. Based on the nature of stimuli, tropism can be classified as phototropism, movement of a plant part towards light. Here, sunflower always moves towards the direction of the sunlight. Geotropism, movement of a plant in response to gravity. Hydrotropism, movement of a plant part towards the water. Stigmotropism, movement of a plant part due to touch. Phemotropism, movement of a plant part in response to chemicals. Tropism is generally termed as positive if growth is towards the signal and negative if it is away from the signal. Always the shoots are positively phototropic. Shoot system of a plant is positively phototropic and negatively geotropic. The root system is negatively phototropic and positively geotropic. Some halophytic plants produce negatively geotropic roots. Example, Rhizopora. This we see in a Avicennia plant. Respiratory roots. Nastic movements. Nastic movements are non-directional response of a plant or a part of a plant to the stimuli. Photonasty, movement of a part of a plant in response to light. Taraxum oxynella. During night time and during daytime. Tigmonasty, movement of a part of a plant in response to touch. Example, Mimosa pudica. It is also known as Cemonasty. The Venus flytrap plant show a spectacular example of tigmonasty. Here they have given the difference between tropical movement and nastic movement. This is very important. Go through it. The next one, thermonasty. Movement of the parts of a plant is associated with change in temperature. Example, tulip. The next part of the lesson is photosynthesis. Photo means light and synthesis means to build. That is, the green plants are autotrophic in their mode of nutrition because they can prepare their own food materials through a process called photosynthesis. The overall equation is CO2 plus H2O in the presence of chlorophyll and sunlight. It gives C6H12O6 plus O2. That is carbon dioxide plus water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. It gives glucose and oxygen. Here the raw materials required for photosynthesis are water, chlorophyll, carbon dioxide and sunlight. But with the help of this, the glucose is formed and oxygen is released as a byproduct. Oxygen is evolved during photosynthesis. Here in this hydrilla plant, oxygen is formed during photosynthesis and these air bubbles forms and oxygen is accumulated here in this test tube. After the preparation of the starch, we are going to test a leaf whether the starch is prepared in the leaf or not. For that, remove a leaf from the plant, put it in your boiling water for decolorization, and then put it in a alcohol, and then do the iodine test. If we add a drop of iodine on the tested leaf, if blue color appears, it represents the presence of starch. This experimental setup shows that light is necessary for photosynthesis. Do you know, do the insects also trap solar energy? Yes, insects also trap solar energy. Scientists have found out that Vespa orientalis have similar capabilities to trap solar energy. They have yellow patches on its abdomen and an unusual cuticle. The yellow patches on its abdomen have the capability to trap solar energy. This yellow patches contains a light sensitive pigment called xanthopterin. They work as a light harvesting molecule, transforming the light energy into electrical energy. Thus, the end product of photosynthesis is glucose, which will be converted into starch and stored in the plant body. Requirements for photosynthesis. These experiments just now I showed in the clippings. The requirements necessary for photosynthesis are chlorophyll, green pigment, water, carbon dioxide, sunlight. And the next topic what we are going to see is transpiration. What is transpiration? The loss of water in the form of water vapor from the aerial parts of the plant body is called transpiration. Always transpiration takes place through the leaves. The leaves have a tiny microscopic pores called stomata. This is the diagrammatic representation of the structure of a stomata. This is very important. Types of transpiration. Always transpiration takes place by three ways. They are stomatal transpiration, cuticular transpiration, lenticular transpiration. Stomatal transpiration. The loss of water from through stomata. The stomatal transpiration, nearly 90 to 95% of the transpiration takes place through stomatal transpiration. The next one is cuticular transpiration. The loss of water in the plants through the cuticle is called cuticular transpiration. Lenticular transpiration. What are lenticles? The lenticles are tiny openings that protrude from the bark in a woody stem and twigs as well as in other plant organs. So when a loss of water from this lenticle, then that type of transpiration we call it as lenticular transpiration. Transpiration is necessary for creating a pull in leaf and stem. It creates an absorption force in roots. It is necessary for continuous supply of minerals. It regulates the temperature of the plant. Next is exchange of gases. The leaves have minute pores called stomata through which the exchange of air takes place. Plants exchange gases, that is CO2 to O2, continuously through this stomata. This is the diagrammatic representation of transpiration. Water absorbs by the root, water travels through the plant with the help of the xylem, and water vapor lost from the leaf pores during transpiration. Here this is the diagrammatic representation of exchange of gases in plants. That is, carbon dioxide is absorbed and oxygen is released. Exchange of gases takes place. Here girls, please go through this video and find out the answers for the evaluation part. Thank you students.